March 2, 1945, 12th Army Group Headquarters. Luxembourg. The radio message arrived at 1400 hours. General Omar Bradley's communications officer handed him the decoded transmission from 3rd Army. Bradley glanced at it casually, expecting routine status updates. Then his eyes stopped moving. He read it again. Then a third time. The message was 17 words long. Have taken Trier with 2 divisions. What do you want me to do? Give it back? Bradley set down his coffee. Around him, staff officers watched their commander's face cycle through shock, disbelief, and something that might have been a suppressed smile. George Patton had just captured Germany's oldest city, a fortress Supreme Headquarters said would require 4 divisions to take. He'd done it with 2. In under 48 hours. While Headquarters was still debating whether to authorize the attack. And now he was asking with unmistakable sarcasm if they wanted him to return it to the Nazis. Bradley picked up the phone to call. Eisenhower, this was going to be interesting. Trier, Germany, a city older than Christianity itself. When Julius Caesar's legions conquered Germania in 58 BC, they found the Celtic Treveri tribe thriving on the Moselle River's banks. Rome transformed their settlement into Augusta Treverorum, capital of Roman Gaul. Constantine the Great issued edicts from its halls. Medieval emperors ruled from its towers. For 2,000 years, Trier endured. By February 1945, Hitler had turned history's cradle into a fortress. The city commanded the Moselle River crossings. It controlled the western approaches to Germany's industrial Saar region. Its capture would rip a hole in the Siegfried Line and open the gateway to the Rhine. German propaganda declared it impregnable. Intelligence reports confirmed formidable defenses, 1 reinforced division, extensive fortifications, artillery pre-registered on every approach. Allied planners at Supreme Headquarters studied the maps and reached a unanimous conclusion. Trier was too costly to assault directly, bypass it, contain it. Let it wither. 4 divisions minimum to capture it, they estimated. Maybe more. George Patton looked at the same intelligence and saw opportunity. Late February 1945, 3rd Army Headquarters. Patton stared at the map of the Moselle Valley with the intensity of a predator studying prey. His 3rd Army had just saved Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge. They'd shattered German counteroffensives. They'd bled in the frozen Ardennes. Now Eisenhower's headquarters was stripping away his best divisions and sending them to Montgomery in the north, the 95th Infantry, the 17th Airborne. Gone. Patton's resources were dwindling while Montgomery accumulated forces for another elaborate set-piece operation. Meanwhile, Bradley's 12th Army Group, Patton's immediate superior, was being treated as secondary to British operations. It was intolerable. Aggressive defense, Headquarters had ordered. The phrase made Patton's jaw clench. There was no such thing as aggressive defense. There was attack or retreat. And George Patton never retreated. He called it armed reconnaissance. A deliberately vague term that could mean anything from light patrols to full-scale assault. In Patton's interpretation, armed reconnaissance meant attacking with 7 divisions toward 3 objectives: Prum, Bitburg, and Trier. Trier was the prize. Major General Walton Walker's the 20th Corps approached from the northwest. The 10th Armored Division led the advance. The 94th Infantry Division maneuvered from the southwest. By late February, they were closing on Germany's oldest city. Then the message arrived from Supreme Headquarters: bypass Trier. Intelligence estimates 4 divisions required for assault. Unacceptable casualties expected. Avoid direct attack. Patton read it, smiled, and issued orders to attack immediately. His divisions were already moving. March 1, 1945, dawn. The 10th Armored Division, commanded by Major General William Morris, struck Trier from multiple directions simultaneously. Sherman tanks crashed through German roadblocks like iron fists through paper. Infantry advanced behind rolling artillery barrages that shook the ancient Roman walls. The 94th Infantry Division attacked from the south, pushing exhausted German defenders back into the city center. The battle was fierce. But it was not prolonged. German troops strained from months of retreat, short on ammunition, low on hope, could not hold against American combined arms tactics. The coordination was surgical. Artillery suppressed strong points, armor exploited gaps. Infantry cleared buildings with methodical brutality. Combat Command B of the 10th Armored punched through the northwestern suburbs. Engineers threw bridges across the Moselle under fire, working through the night as tracer rounds carved red lines through the darkness. By nightfall on March 1st, American tanks prowled the city streets. March 2nd brought the decisive assault. American infantry cleared buildings room by room. The ancient Porta Nigra, the Black Gate, built by Romans in 180 AD, witnessed American soldiers fighting house to house through medieval streets that had survived 2 millennia. Constantine's Basilica, where Roman emperors once held court, became a battlefield. German snipers fired from church towers. American artillery responded with precision, carefully avoiding the most significant historical structures. By 1300 hours, organized German resistance collapsed. Over 6,000 German soldiers surrendered. The city that Supreme Headquarters said would require 4 divisions had fallen to 2 in less than 48 hours. American casualties, fewer than 200 killed and wounded. It was a tactical masterpiece, and George Patton was about to make sure everyone knew it. 3rd Army Headquarters, 1330 hours, March 2nd. Major General Hobart Gay, Patton's Chief of Staff, drafted the after-action report. Standard military language, objectives achieved, casualties light. Enemy forces neutralized. Patton read it. Then reached for the message pad. He wrote 17 words that would echo through military history forever. Have taken Trier with 2 divisions. What do you want me to do? Give it back? The message was vintage Patton. Simultaneously, a report, a boast, and a barb aimed at the cautious planners who had tried to stop him. It was also a challenge to Bradley and Eisenhower. I've just captured one of Germany's most important cities ahead of schedule and under budget. What are you going to do about it? Staff officers at 3rd Army Headquarters chuckled as they transmitted the message. They knew their commander's reputation for insubordination. They also knew his record. Since becoming operational in Normandy on August 1, 1944, 3rd Army had liberated more territory, captured more prisoners, and inflicted more casualties than any other Allied army in Europe. Patton's methods were unorthodox. His personality was abrasive, but his results were undeniable. The message reached Bradley's headquarters in Luxembourg at 1400 hours. Omar Bradley had known George Patton for over 2 decades. West Point classmates in different years. Service together in the interwar army, combat in North Africa, Sicily, France. Bradley had been Patton's subordinate in Sicily, then became his superior in France, a reversal Patton never fully accepted. Bradley was methodical, careful, politically astute. Patton was impulsive, aggressive, politically tone-deaf. They were opposites in almost every way. Yet Bradley understood Patton's genius better than anyone. He read the message 3 times. Then he did something his staff officers would remember for the rest of their lives. He laughed, not a polite chuckle. A genuine, full-throated laugh that echoed through the headquarters tent. "Gentlemen," Bradley announced to his staff, "General Patton has captured Trier with 2 divisions, SAS AAF estimated 4. He's asking if we want him to give it back." The room erupted. Officers who had spent weeks managing the cautious, methodical advance suddenly saw what audacity could achieve. The city everyone said was impossible had fallen in 2 days, but Bradley's amusement faded quickly. He had multiple problems to manage simultaneously. Eisenhower would need to be informed. Montgomery would learn that American forces had captured a major German city while he was still preparing his elaborate Rhine crossing. SHAEF's intelligence estimates had just been publicly proven wrong, and Patton had achieved this victory in direct defiance of orders. Bradley picked up the secure phone to Supreme Headquarters. "Get me General Eisenhower." Supreme Headquarters, Allied Expeditionary Force, Reims, France. Eisenhower sat at his desk reading Patton's message. Staff officers waited for the explosion. The Supreme Commander's relationship with Patton was complicated, decades of friendship mixed with professional exasperation. Eisenhower had protected Patton after the slapping incidents nearly destroyed his career. He'd given him 3rd Army despite British objections. He'd defended him to Marshall, to Churchill. To anyone who questioned keeping America's most controversial general in command, he'd done it because Patton was irreplaceable. The Germans feared him more than any other Allied commander. When Patton commanded the fictional First Army Group before D-Day, German intelligence remained convinced the main invasion would come at Calais, because surely the Allies would use their best general for the main attack. Now that best general had just captured Trier in defiance of explicit orders, and his message was simultaneously a situation report and a provocation. "What do you want me to do? Give it back?" The sarcasm was unmistakable. Eisenhower looked up at his staff. "Get me Bradley." When Bradley answered, Eisenhower's voice was controlled but tight. "Brad, I just received George's message about Trier." "Yes, sir." The city chief said would require 4 divisions, and he took it with 2, in under 48 hours. "That's correct, Ike." Eisenhower was silent for 5 seconds. "Then, what's the situation now?" Bradley reviewed the tactical picture. The 10th Armored was consolidating control. The 94th Infantry was clearing remaining resistance. Engineers were already repairing Moselle bridges for supply columns. Walker's the 20th Corps could now advance toward the Saar. The capture had created opportunities for the entire southern sector. Eisenhower made his decision. "Tell George, good work on Trier, but tell him to cut out the sarcastic messages. I don't need his wit. I need his victories." Bradley smiled despite himself. "I'll pass that along, Ike." After hanging up, Eisenhower returned to his maps. Patton had done it again, achieved the impossible through sheer audacity. Third Army was now positioned to launch the Saar-Palatinate offensive, which would destroy 2 German armies and open the road to the Rhine. The Supreme Commander would later chuckle when recounting Patton's message to other commanders. It became one of the most famous communications of the war, but at the moment Eisenhower had bigger concerns. And George Patton, despite his insubordination, remained indispensable. 12th Army Group Headquarters. 1,500 hours. Bradley drafted his response carefully. He needed to acknowledge Patton's achievement without encouraging more insubordination. He needed to keep Eisenhower happy while maintaining Patton's fighting spirit. The message read: "Congratulations on capture of Trier, well done. Do not give it back. Expand bridgehead and prepare for further operations towards Saar. Additional divisions being assigned to the 20th Corps. Await further orders before advancing beyond current objectives." That last sentence was critical. Bradley knew Patton's tendency to interpret orders creatively. Aggressive defense had become a 7-division offensive. Armed reconnaissance had captured Germany's oldest city. Now Bradley needed to ensure Patton didn't independently decide to launch a campaign across the Saar before higher headquarters approved. When Bradley's message reached 3rd Army Headquarters, Patton read it with satisfaction. "Well done" from Bradley was high praise. "Do not give it back" showed his superior had a sense of humor about the situation. And "prepare for further operations" meant Bradley was already thinking about exploiting the victory. Patton called in his corps commanders. "Gentlemen, Trier is not the objective. It's the starting point." He outlined his vision. The real prize was the Saar-Palatinate region, the industrial heart of Western Germany. If 3rd Army could advance rapidly from Trier, cross the Saar River, and drive southeast toward the Rhine, they could trap 2 entire German armies in a pocket. It would be the greatest encirclement since Falaise, but he needed Bradley's approval. And Bradley needed Eisenhower's approval. And Eisenhower was busy managing Montgomery's elaborate Rhine crossing plans. So Patton did what he always did. He prepared for the operation he wanted to conduct and waited for the right moment to propose it. March 5th brought that moment. Eisenhower, pleased with overall progress and mindful of the opportunity created by Trier's capture, authorized Bradley to order Patton to advance into the Palatinate. Bradley's message to Patton was 3 words: "Take the Rhine." Patton needed no further encouragement. March 13th to 22nd, 1945. What followed was one of the most devastating campaigns of World War II. Launching from Trier and other positions along the German border, 8 divisions of 3rd Army tore through German defenses in a campaign of speed, violence, and coordination that left the Wehrmacht reeling. The 10th Armored Division drove southeast into the Palatinate. The 4th Armored Division, Patton's favorite formation, slashed through German rear areas. Infantry divisions cleared fortified positions while armor exploited breakthroughs. In 9 days, 3rd Army captured 68,000 German prisoners. They killed or wounded 99,000 more. They liberated 1,372 cities, towns, and villages. They seized 6,484 square miles of enemy territory. They effectively destroyed the German 7th and 1st Armies as fighting formations, and they did it while advancing over 100 miles through difficult terrain against an enemy fighting on home soil. The cost was significant, thousands of American casualties. But the achievement was undeniable. The Saar-Palatinate campaign shortened the war. German forces that might have defended the Rhine for months were shattered in 9 days. Trier's capture had made it all possible. That city, dismissed by SHAF as too costly to attack, became the launch point for one of the war's decisive campaigns. Patton's audacity in attacking when ordered to bypass had created opportunities that methodical planning never would have achieved. Bradley would later write in his memoirs, "George was a magnificent soldier. His vigor was always infectious, his wit barbed, at once stimulating and overbearing. When the chips were down, George was the man to have on your side." He never explicitly mentioned the "give it back" message, but the incident exemplified everything Bradley admired and feared about his old friend. Brilliant tactical instinct combined with an insubordinate streak. Eisenhower, in his post-war reflections, acknowledged Patton's unique value. When asked about difficult subordinates, he said he would take one Patton over 3 conventional commanders. The Supreme Commander had spent the war managing Patton's excesses while exploiting his genius. Trier was a perfect example. Patton had violated orders, mocked his superiors, and won a victory that validated his judgment. Bradley's response, "Do not give it back," became as famous as Patton's original message. It was both a joke and a command. It acknowledged Patton's achievement while establishing that victories, once won, must be held and exploited. It was the perfect response to the perfect message. Practical, humorous, and strategically sound, Germany's oldest city had witnessed Caesar's legions, Roman emperors, medieval princes, and Nazi occupiers. In March 1945, it witnessed American audacity at its finest. 2 generals, one methodical, one aggressive, working in tension and harmony. Bradley giving Patton enough rope to either hang himself or lasso victory. Patton delivering results that justified the risk. The "give it back" message entered military legend. It appeared in memoirs and movies. It became shorthand for aggressive leadership versus bureaucratic caution. Young officers at West Point studied it as an example of operational art, how tactical success creates strategic opportunities. For Patton, Trier represented vindication. After being sidelined, relegated to deception duties, repeatedly given secondary priority, he'd proven his worth through results. His 3rd Army had become the standard by which other formations were measured. For Bradley, it represented the challenge and privilege of commanding genius. Managing Patton required constant vigilance, diplomatic skill, and the wisdom to know when to unleash him and when to restrain him. And for the thousands of American soldiers who fought through Trier's streets, it represented something simpler, victory achieved through courage, coordination, and the leadership of commanders who believed in the impossible. On March 22, when 3rd Army forces crossed the Rhine ahead of Montgomery's elaborate operation, the impossible had become routine. All because George Patton looked at a city everyone said couldn't be taken and asked the only question that mattered: why not? And because Omar Bradley, when asked if they should give it back, delivered the only answer that made sense: hell no. If this deep dive into one of World War II's most audacious moments fascinated you, then you need to subscribe to this channel immediately. We bring you the untold stories from history's greatest conflicts, the impossible victories, the crucial decisions, the human drama behind the headlines that changed the course of nations. These aren't sanitized textbook accounts. These are the raw, unfiltered stories of leaders who refused to accept no and soldiers who made the impossible look routine. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next video. Because the best military history isn't about strategy and statistics, about moments like these. When a general captures a city in defiance of orders and asks with perfect sarcasm if his superiors want him to give it back. And when another general, who knows genius when he sees it, responds with the only words that matter, "Do not give it back."